What is going on, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Forward Thinking Founders. I am very grateful to have your attention, at least for the next 15 minutes of this episode. Forward Thinking Founders is a podcast where I interview pre-seed and seed stage founders about their products, what they want to build into the world, and why. We dive into how they spend their time, what's their vision, what's their origin stories, all these things, so you can learn all about what's coming tomorrow. Because these companies haven't hit critical scale yet. Most of them haven't hit product market fit. These are just early stage companies, and the big question is, what can this be? And in this podcast, we bring that out. So with that, I really hope you enjoy your time listening to today's episode. And I've already done 200 plus, so if you like this one, listen to some of the other ones, like with Imadi Kund, Austin Allred, Leah Culver. We have great interviews, so check it out, enjoy the repository, and for now, let's get into today's episode. Here we go. All right, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Forward Thinking Founders, where we talk to founders about their companies, their visions for the future, and how the two collide. Today, I'm very excited to be talking to Josh Kline, who's the founder of HaveNeed. Welcome to the show. How's it going?
Good, Matt. Thanks for having me on. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. I'm just in a good mood. It's been a good day, and we're going to translate that energy to this podcast. So with that said, for people that haven't heard of your company, they haven't heard of HaveNeed, what are you working on? What is HaveNeed?
HaveNeed is the first consumer multi-party barter platform for goods and services. I know that's a mouthful, but what we enable people to do is trade goods and services and donate goods and services at a scale never before possible.
So walk me through a little bit about like how this would work. If I wanted to donate or not, if I trade, let's say trade, if I wanted to trade something, what could I get for it? I mean, how does that work? Can you kind of walk me through the experience?
Sure. So barter's not new. It's been around since ancient Egypt, 8,000 years ago. But barter falls victim to the primary friction point of a requirement for a mutual coincidence of wants. I want your yellow t-shirt. You do not want my black t-shirt. We don't share a mutual coincidence of wants. No trade. But what if I want your yellow t-shirt? You want Mary's green t-shirt, and Mary wants my black t-shirt. Now, if we have a platform that allows us to identify those disparate data points and create a potential match, surface that potential match to the three of us, and if we all like that trade, we can engage in it, then we've literally sidestepped a need for a mutual coincidence of wants. And that allows us to expand trade and bartering in a way that's never been done before.
So why did you decide to work on this problem? Kind of what's the origin story for HaveNeed?
Yeah, so I thought of this a few years back, actually, and I was working at a Silicon Valley-based company called Box. It was a great company, really enjoyed my time there. But I was thinking about what was going to be next in my career. And I specifically wanted to spend my time doing something more impactful on the world around me. I'd spent 25 or so years in media tech and production tech, enterprise technology, and fulfilling career, but not fulfilling on a way that made me feel like I was leaving the world in a better state than before I showed up. And I just spent some time researching on different opportunities and things I could do with my skill set, and what could I put together that would leave a larger and lasting impact. And I ended up looking at opportunities, a couple billion people coming online around the world with smartphones and little or no access to stable currency. How do you help those people make a business out of it? And that led me to thinking about barter. And I understood that, I researched it and understood that there were a whole lot of startups that tried to tackle this through barter. And they're all carcasses on the highway at this point. So what was it about consumer barter that failed, where B2B barter is actually a thriving multi-billion-dollar business? And it really did boil down to this need for a mutual coincidence of wants. And nobody had actually addressed that primary issue. And so I would spend some time working through it, spent some time working with a Harvard economist who's one of my advisors. And that's really the impetus of how we architected this solution. And then that was reinforced through a friend who's a neighbor of mine, who's a doctor, who, when I was talking about this concept, he goes, yeah, that's how we do organ transplants. I'm like, the hell are you talking about? He goes, yeah, man, like without multi-party transactions in a marketplace for organs, like, tens of thousands of people a year are dying. Then we came up with that, and now it's actually changed the game. So we're saving tens of thousands of people a year because you can actually vouch a kidney into the marketplace, and somebody else will give you a kidney if you're not a match for the person you vouched. And so that really reinforced my belief in the solution. And I spent, first couple of years just experimenting and wireframing and whiteboarding and trying to figure out if there was any there. And then I got to a place where I really believed that this was a meaningful use of my time. And when I left Box in 2017, I dedicated my time full time on HaveNeed, and we've been building ever since. We're in beta right now. We're in the App Store, and we're going to launch publicly by the end of 2021.
It's very exciting. I mean, I appreciate all the context on kind of how you got here. It's my favorite question, because like you know who you're talking to, but you don't know how they got here, right? Saying like why they got here. So I appreciate you sharing that. I'm curious, this seems to have been it's non-obvious. This is not something where everyone sees it and then, someone just gets the money that does it. You have to like do some digging to like understand this and go through this. I'm curious, what have you learned in the last few years as you've gone through this idea maze and you validated that this was something you wanted to work on? Are there lessons that you've taken away that might be valuable to someone, farther back down the idea maze?
Well, I think we'll look back on this maybe a year or two down the road, and I will have proven out a non-obvious solution to a global problem, or I'll never, regardless of the outcome of this, I'll never come to think that it wasn't a valid use of my time. I think this is a huge solution to a huge problem. But like you said, it's non-obvious. And so because it's non-obvious, it doesn't come with a 10-second explanation. There's not an easy elevator pitch. I have some investors that I've had to meet with and discuss this, 3, 4, 5 times before the light goes off in their head. They're like, oh, now I get it. Yeah, of course I want to be part of that. It's not, in my case with this company, and this is my third startup, but by far the hardest to raise money for, because there is inherent complexity to this. So I would say stick-to-itiveness has got me as far as I have. I've raised several $100,000s to date. Because I don't have a technical co-founder in this company, the vast majority of that money has gone to development and engineers. And, I would love to have had a technical co-founder. It would have gone faster, would have raised less money. But, you play the cards you're dealt. And this is how this company has come about. And this is the path in front of me. And so I've gotten to the point where we're about to launch publicly, and I'll hopefully prove it out.
I feel like what you just said, like this is the path not unwalked down, but the path untalked about. People don't talk about when you build something super new and interesting and exciting. It's not like you one day you think of an idea, then you just build it and you raise 100 million. It is a path. It is a journey. And the best companies that change the world always like started as a mental journey with the founder, just figuring something out. So I'm excited to see where the journey goes. And I guess like, which my next question would be, so you have this, you're launching soon. You've been working on this. You've been thinking about this. If everything goes as planned, where is the company in 5, 10, 15 years? Or I guess in other words, what's the big vision here?
So this is a commercial endeavor, but the end game was always around delivering impact at scale. So 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, this is intended to be a global scale company. Think about the eBay of Barter is the way I'd like to see this company scale. But the way we deliver impact is that we avail the platform to charitable organizations and NGOs and other nonprofits gratis. And so if you think about sort of the old Tom's 1-for-1 model, you buy a pair of shoes here, kid in Africa gets a pair of shoes. I think about it as the software version of 1-for-1. As long as we have a sustainable consumer business, we will always avail this platform to charitable organizations so that we can fulfill the mission, which is leveling the playing field for people in need.
And to make that happen, you'll need some help, right? It takes a village to make a startup work and scale. So my question for you is, how can the forward-thinking founders community help? Are you hiring? Are you, you're raising money, looking for beta testers? How can we assist?
Yeah, so hiring will follow the next two. I've been raising money since the day I thought of it. I've put in a fair amount of money. I've shaken down friends and family since day one. And I've also brought in, new investors to my network, but I'm constantly raising money, and I will be until, the reality is I listen to people say, like, I've got this very focused fundraising plan and it's going to be finished by this date. And that's awesome if people can do that. That's not been my experience. And this is my third startup, and I've raised in total about, I don't know, probably $15-17 million across 3 startups. And so, I always feel like I'm fundraising, and I will be until, we IPO or sell or it's just thrown off cash. So what I would love, I really enjoy the community that you've built around Seed Scout. And so, beta testers are super useful. Absolutely. So we're at HaveNeed.org, and you can sign up on HaveNeed.org. And right now in the beta test, it's all private groups. So it's companies, neighborhood associations. I'm happy to put together, a group just for, your community, Matt. And so if anybody goes to HaveNeed.org, at the bottom of that homepage, you sign up on the invite code, just put Seed Scout. Let's just use that one. And so that way I'll know everybody who came in there, and I can put together a group of just members of your community. And then, fundraising. I'm always fundraising. So anybody here who's interested in learning more about this opportunity, I'm Josh at HaveNeed.org. Happy to talk to you.
All right. Well, my last question was gonna be, how can someone reach out? But you just made it super simple. Is there anywhere else someone you want to push online? Do you have like Twitter, LinkedIn, anything else you want to push, or is that how people can get in touch?
That I just gave you my email address. You can hit me there. You can follow me. I'm at Josh C. Kline, JoshCKline. That's my Twitter handle. HaveNeed is the company Twitter handle. Always happy to have follows. We publish out information, barter information. And by the way, I'll also add, I've been collecting stories that are published around the world and reposting them online at our site. So if you're wondering, like, who barters, who needs to barter, are people trying to barter and they don't have tools to barter, it'll blow your mind how many people around the world are finding ways to barter that are so inefficient just because the ability to barter is so important for them. So it's not a question about whether people want to or need to barter. It's about what tools will they use to do it. And we're the only purpose-built, scalable, and efficient tool to do it. But if you go to haveneed.org/news, you will see stories from around the world about people, the great lengths they will go to barter.
Appreciate you sharing that. And I appreciate you coming onto the podcast. This is something that I've thought about in the past. Is like, why it doesn't, like, it's a big problem, and to solve it would mean so much for the world. And I'm rooting for you, and hopefully this episode can help kind of get the word out and help make it a little easier. So I appreciate you coming onto the podcast, and best of luck building it out.
Matt, always a pleasure talking with you. Thanks so much for having me on.